Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about truth and let's start with the definition.
Максим, maybe from the very first moment I need your help. How to say истина? Truth is правда and истина is...
Truth. Need to think about this one.
Okay. There is several definitions with distinction. There is reality, and maybe not too many people understand how it works. And also, it's a truth. Truth, it's a point of view on this reality. For example, it was a time that no one knows about X-rays, and they were not existent in our mental models. And it was our truth, but not the reality. Suddenly we recover it, we discover, we understand that it could be useful, and now we make photo of the bones or internal parts of the body. So now our truth is much closer to reality. Another way, for example, let's think about killing of President Kennedy. It was a time that too many people were interested how it was happening, and now there is contradictional theories, and not too many people understand what will is the reality. But after several years, maybe 100, all people will die who were taking part in it, and we will find the right theory, and a lot of people will understand that they were quite mistaken with their guesses. The same, for example, with traveling to the moon. There was a time like 115 years ago, and Nikolai Noskov was writing a novel which I like a lot while I was a child. Its name like NASA Known Man on the Moon, Незнайка на Луне. And this was quite a story, and this was about that moon is empty inside and people live inside the planet, and they have a lot of interesting ways. And by the way, it was like a description of the America, and if you will read it right now, you will understand that we after Soviet Union live in same truth. But at the time when we are Soviet scholars, it was quite unusual that someone paying for example, electricity or for water, it was included in our payments which was made for our flats. And a lot of people were thinking how bad this policeman who tried to kick out from National Man and his friends something, but now we have the same on the street. So we develop our knowledge, we change our world, and suddenly something which was unusual or maybe unacceptable will become quite common. The same, for example, would be when we will live outside of our planet. We will travel to the Mars, we will travel, for example, to the Venus, and we will find that there are another way how to survive. Maybe we will eat flesh of our dead comrades, and it would be quite normal.
Well, it's quite interesting that you mentioned the story that was written about the journey of this like a little man, because in this book is also they also mentioned some sort of like a maybe not principles but quite interesting things about the capitalism. Let's say one guy, his name was Ponchik, he also was acquiring salt and actually opening the restaurant while like first he was suffering, then he was actually making some sort of money. So again, like he was happy with this, and then no matter how it ended up, he has his own truth. But in our life we also meet like other people, and entire person might be having their own universe inside. So how do we recognize what kind of truth they have so that we know how to interact with them better, or at least to understand what's behind, or maybe to be able to pierce some of the layers of the person?
You know, it's quite difficult, and it's quite complicated. I will tell you a story. Several years ago, one friend of mine approached me in his second marriage, and suddenly he asked me if I can keep his secret for a moment, and he was trying to pay me money. Suddenly he found that he wants to have as many children as possible, maybe 5, maybe 4, but his second wife, he completely refused to spoil her body or her shape of her body, and he was saying, we will not have any children. If you want, you can adopt and I will accept it. And he was trying to talk to me how to explain that I want children. And I was telling to him, if you are happy with this girl, with this woman, stay for a while, for 5 or 10 years, and then you could switch to another one. But now you should understand that your truth is to have a baby in the marriage, but you couldn't change the truth of another man. Or for example, there is a lot of people who do not know how to drive the car. I was learning how to drive the car for 4 times in Ukraine and 5th time in Russia. So each time I was getting my driver license from the scratch. And when I see how people park their car, how they make turns and some other movements, I'm literally afraid of their relatives and friends if they will sit in the car. The same, for example, with divers. Sometimes people go to dive with white shark, and there is a quite a dangerous situation. Or maybe people, while drunk or while drinking, they try to swim and jump out of the yacht. And yes, it could happen in any way. It could cause death. But people have the truth that they are unbeatable, and they also saying that death is something what will not happen to me.
And when it comes to our own truth, because obviously we might be having so many beliefs, and apparently it might be forming a certain system, but maybe at certain point of time we also might be like a bending truth for ourselves. Maybe it's our brain trick to protect us from something, or it's our mind trick, or it's our character or personality trick in order to like make sure that we can adjust. So how to go about this one, especially given that there is such a thing called congruence, so that like we're not really conflicting with our inner personality or personalities. So how to go about like bending or keeping our own truth to ourselves.
If you live in the walls of your thoughts, sometimes you will be missing out and you will not understand it. For example, several days ago, I was meeting a very famous man in Russian marketology, and he gave me the book, which is very small one. And I asked him, why this very small book? This has a very small format, not too many pages, and so on. And suddenly he told me, yes, you think that it is good to write huge books. And I have, for example, Bible of troubleshooting, and it is like 5 million symbols. So it's like twice War and Peace written by Tolstoy. And he told me, but no one reads such a huge books. Everyone wants something to put in their pocket to switch several pages, nothing more. And I don't know who is right, but if you conflict, if you have meet people with other truths, you should think, maybe I should review something in my head. Or for example, I was asking my wife, let's go to ski in the mountains. I have friends in Italy, in France, and Switzerland, and they will be totally happy to see me, and especially you, because they were knowing that I have already married you, but they never saw you. And suddenly she told me, I wouldn't go skiing because I am dentist and I do not want to break my arms. And suddenly I realized that yes, I have enough money. I couldn't work for a long time, but she couldn't, and she definitely afraid to break arms. So for me, skiing is just a fun, but for her, skiing is a dangerous. The same maybe with you. Your English is almost perfect, and you could immediately go to any conference and conduct speech. When I will go, I should understand that there would be a lot of laughing from the room. I don't know, maybe for 10 minutes or maybe for 15 minutes, and you should live with this. So you should understand how good you are in something, how good you are in swimming, in running, in making lectures, and so on.
I actually remember one of the things that we learned on the strategy is about, like decorating the dry tree with certain flowers. So it's more about like a revelation certain parts, and maybe like really, like putting some shadows on another one. So how we should go about the truth? Because obviously sometimes there are things that there are goals that we want to achieve, but we don't want to bend our tree, but we maybe want to put something on top of it. So how we can go about this, and maybe how we can go this in someone else as well.
There is a Russian song which is written by the group. The name is like Time Machine, and they have something that you never could bend the wall because wind is stronger than you. The same with your truth. If you will tell to everyone your truth, a lot of people will understand that you are maybe not honest, or maybe not perspective, or maybe quite old-fashioned man, and so on. So you should test other truths to understand, is it matching or not? For example, some people, they do not eat meat. And if you will say to them, I like to eat pig or maybe cow, they will be offended. Some people, for example, think that there should be a war between these countries because one of the country making something wrong to another. But each side thinks that another side is making it wrong. And you should understand that always truth is laying between these points of view, but not the reality. No one knows reality until we will recover all the facts. And sometimes it's very, very strange, but our government and people with power will hide this reality. For example, do you remember this desert storm in which was conducted by American troops in Iraq? They were trying to search to find some mass destruction weapon, and suddenly they found nothing, and they just said, okay, we were mistaken, but too many people were killed. And the same, sometime now we're talking about war between Russia and Ukraine, or between Palestine and Israel, but no one talking about Congo. But in the Congo for last 20 years were killed like more than 4.4 million people. It's much more people were dying in this conflict than in any other else in total. So there is a saying which I usually say on the leadership skill or on the management skill. There is a saying, I don't know how to translate, maybe you'll help me, that is кривое зеркало исполнителя, curve mirror of the executor. Yes?
Yes, that's pretty much just correct.
For example, you are my boss and you came to the ground, to the spot, and I will show you something. I have an ability to put a huge mirror to show you something which is looking good. But by this mirror, I will hide something from you. For example, there is a Belarusian president, Lukashenko. Sometime he are visiting some farms and suddenly he changed his road and he opened, I don't know how to say, ambar, sarai,
Barn.
Yes, okay, barn, and found some dying cows and dying chicken, and he asking everyone, why you are showing me just good looking roads and this healthy cows and chickens? Show me also dying ones, and I will know what to do and how to fire and so on.
Well, I guess it also was a nice segue when responding to the question, like how knowing about the truth could make the world a better place. When we know everything, at least we know how to act if our intentions also good. А мы рассмотрели навык «Правда» и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!